Welcome to Q&ASMR. Hello, I'm glad you can make it. These questions are brought to me by listeners like you. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Our first question comes from Xavier. What is the origin of the New Year's traditions of the ball drop or making a resolution? Ah, a great and somewhat timely question. If I can find an origin, I may add one to your list, but for now we'll start with the ball drop. The first New Year's Eve ball drop was actually the ball drop in New York City. The ball is located at the top of 1 Times Square, which contains the headquarters for the New York Times. The owner of the Times in 1907 wanted to add something special to the New Year's celebration, and so installed a brightly lit ball atop the building set to drop at midnight. Modern incarnations begin their descent at 11:59 so that they land at midnight, but I'm unsure how the first drops were done. This tradition has been carried out every year since, except for 2 years during World War II, when there were wartime blackouts. However, the idea of dropping a ball to signal the time goes back even farther. Technically, the New Year's Eve ball drop ball is something called a time ball. Time balls have been in use since antiquity as a way to signal to the locals and the ships at sea what time it is. Obviously, modern technology has rendered time balls obsolete, but before the age of electronic signals, people had to manually set their clocks. Without access to an observatory to watch the sun and stars, an individual had no real way of knowing what time it was if their clock stopped. These large wood or metal balls sat atop an observatory or similar building and were dropped at specific times. The time ball atop the Greenwich Observatory was set to drop at 1 p.m., for example. So, time balls have been around for a long, long time, but the tradition of dropping one for New Year's was started in New York in 1907 to ring in 1908. Not to be outdone, the tradition of making a resolution to start the new year may find its origins in ancient Babylon. Their new year was in the spring and was set up to begin the farming season. Among the traditions practiced was a promise to return borrowed farming equipment and pay their debts. I think we can all agree that those are both very much resolutions we might hear someone make today. As happened with most things in the ancient world, the Romans eventually took over, at first adopting the Babylonian New Year, but eventually moving it to better fit the Julian calendar. The Roman New Year began with promises to January's namesake deity, Janus, or Janus in the original Latin. These promises are probably the origin of the New Year's resolution, if not the Babylonian tradition. Either way, humans have been promising to be better in the new year for thousands of years. And last is actually not a tradition. I thought it was, but it turns out that kissing your significant other at midnight is more of a superstition than anything else. Moreover, I could hardly find any data or info about it at all, so I have no idea where it started or how it got linked with the new year. Oh well, thanks so very much for that question. This next question comes from The Battery Man. How many different sizes of battery are there? Oh, a fascinating question. I'm sure we're all familiar with those that we keep in the house, double and triple A mostly, but let's see how many we can find. Okay, It looks like there are over 100 different sizes of battery, which is pretty crazy. However, I think the way we talk about batteries will limit the number somewhat. In the cylindrical category, we have quadruple A, triple A, double A, one half double A, B, C, sub C, D, F, N, A21, A23, A27, BA5800, duplex, and 4SR44. For rectangular batteries, we have the 4.5 volt, PP3, which can also be called 9 volt or E, the lantern battery, which comes in a couple of different styles, big, screw, or spring, and J. Then we have camera batteries, which get their own category, I guess. CR123A, CR2, 2CR5, CRP2, CRV3, CP1, and 7R31. Finally, we get into the weird zone. Button cells, which are also known as watch batteries or coin batteries, come in dozens of shapes, but almost all of them are letter and number strings like we saw in the camera batteries. When we're discussing these batteries, most people just call them a button battery or watch battery or whatever, and then gesture with their hands to indicate how big they are. Similarly, hearing aid batteries all have their own designations, but they are all also technically just special types of button cells. Rechargeable batteries also have their own designations, but we almost always refer to them by the type of battery they represent. A rechargeable AA, for example, or we don't think about them at all because they're inside of whatever piece of technology we are recharging, and we never really see the battery. So, for most people, there are 5 or 6 sizes of battery that they will ever need. Maybe more if they are into photography or wear a hearing aid. Only those that work in some kind of battery store or whatever really need to know all 100 plus battery sizes. Thanks for that question. It was really fun. This last question comes from SkyGuy91. Which companies own which soft drinks? That is a good question. I'm pretty sure it's split right down the middle between Coke and Pepsi. So let's see who's got what. Starting with Pepsi, they own Pepsi, obviously, and all its various different diet and flavored varieties. Mountain Dew and all its varieties, 7-Up, Crush and its many flavors, and Dr. Pepper are all Pepsi products. Lipton Brisk, since Lipton is not a U.S. company, Pepsi handles them in the U.S., and its many flavors are all PepsiCo. They also have Mug, the root beer, many Tropicana products, though their ownership of Tropicana is kind of weird. Starry, the lemon lime soda replacement of Sierra Mist, and Bubbly sparkling water. It appears they also own Gatorade, Propel, which I was surprised to learn was a Gatorade subsidiary, Aquafina bottled water, Sobe Life Water, Muscle Milk, Pure Leaf Tea, and Rockstar Energy Drink. It also appears that Pepsi is responsible for the Starbucks brand bottled drinks that you get at the store or in the vending machine. I suppose it makes sense to go to Coca-Cola, who own, again, very obviously, Coke and its many diet and flavored varieties. They also have Barks Root Beer, Sprite, Dasani bottled water, and Fairlife Milk, which also includes the protein drink Core Power. The grapefruit soda Fresca is also a Coke product. Coke has Fuse Teas, Fanta and their many flavors, Gold Peak Tea and Coffee, Minute Maid Juices, which also includes High C, and Powerade, Schweppes, Simply Juices and Lemonades, Smart Water, Topo Chico, and Vitamin Water are the last brands Coca-Cola owns. Maybe. See, this list is from Coke's website under their listed brands. However, there are a few other drinks that I know are made by Coca-Cola Company, like Mellow Yellow or Mr. Pibb, for example. Wikipedia also lists these brands as well. Dunkin' Donuts brand of bottled coffee drinks, NOS energy drink, and Dr. Pepper. Wait, what? Actually, that last one is a bit of a joke. See, there's actually a third US-based company that competes with these two in a couple of markets. They've been bought a few times here and there, and their current name is Keurig Dr. Pepper. So, in some parts of the world, Dr. Pepper is distributed by Pepsi, while in others it's distributed by Coca-Cola. And in others still, the US in particular, it's distributed by Keurig Dr. Pepper. Here is a full list of Keurig Dr. Pepper's drinks. 7-Up, A&W Root Beer, Bai Water, Canada Dry Ginger Ale, Crush, Dr. Pepper, obviously, Ghost Energy Drink, Hawaiian Punch, Keurig Coffees, again, obviously, Mott's Apple Juice, Nestea, RC Cola, Schweppes, Snapple. The company was actually named Dr. Pepper Snapple Group before Keurig came in. Squirt, Sunkist, and Yoo-Hoo. Thanks for that great question. Boy, is anybody else thirsty? Thank you again to Xavier, The Battery Man, Sky Guy 91. If you would like to have your question answered in a video, leave it in a comment below this one. If you would prefer to ask your question a little more privately, you can email me your question at questionsandasmr@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more questions like these every week. Thanks again for listening. Goodbye for now.